Ah, Las Vegas. An overhyped, kinda crummy place in the middle of the desert. No, that's mean. It's not that bad. At least along the strip. You can find plenty of things to do for a weekend here. And if you want to spend a lot of money, you can feel like you're on a real vacation. Or if you want to go cheap, you can do that too. But this isn't a what to do in Vegas video. It's a here's what Vegas looks like video. For this drive, we're going to see two areas. The main strip where almost all the hotels are, and a really super rundown, dangerous area just off the strip. In fact, it's the most dangerous part of Vegas, just one block from where we are now. I think both drives will be enlightening. The day was bright and sunny as it is here most of the time. It was about 80 degrees right before the sunset in late October of 2021. Now we're here because Las Vegas is not only a major tourist destination, but it's one of the fastest growing cities in the country. Vegas has grown by more than 14% in the last 10 years. It was actually in the top 3 for fastest growing cities in the country of late. There's a lot of people fleeing California and moving here, especially Southern California. They want a cheaper lifestyle, and they're sick of the politics in California. But the problem is, that's changing Vegas and making Vegas less good. Vegas isn't all neon rainbows. Sure, the strip is nice, and there's great, really expensive communities on the fringes of the metro area. That's something I covered in other videos. But surrounding all the fancy hotels, for the most part, are long stretches of rundown strip malls and neglected neighborhoods. A lot of it looks like the bad side of Los Angeles. Kinda. Sorta. But it's pretty clear the Raiders are perfect for this place because most of the city's trashed and run down and full of crime. But again, we're not going to talk about that anymore. Let's talk about the Strip. The Strip really took off in the 1990s. That's when all the over-the-top casinos and hotels went in. Back then, it was really impressive. Sure, there's still super nice places on the Strip where things have remained elegant and new and awe-inspiring, but I found since the last time I wandered the Strip that many of the hotels had lost their charm. A lot of them are close to 30 years old now, and the wear shows. And of course, the less nice a hotel slash casino gets, the more riffraff comes around. I mean, I saw 2 near fistfights in my hotel while checking in. And here's how bad my room looked at the Excalibur. Certainly not impressive Excalibur. Perhaps that's because I'm frugal and I should spend more money. But for the most part, the Strip's still holding on. It just seems a little tired, like a middle-aged dad. The Vegas Strip first began in 1941 with the opening of the El Rancho Vegas Resort. Over time, more and more hotels slash casinos have opened up here. Today, there's 33 hotels on this 4-mile stretch of road known as Las Vegas Boulevard. The Strip is usually defined as the area of road between Sahara Avenue and Russell Road. These hotels are really big, which is why there's only 33 on both sides of this road over a 4-mile stretch. Some of these hotel footprints are a half-mile long, if you can believe that. In fact, half of the world's 20 largest hotels are here on this street. The Vegas Strip is actually not within the city of Las Vegas. Technically, it's within Clark County. 40 million people visit the city every year, and there's 22,000 conventions held here. Las Vegas is also considered the brightest place on the planet because of all the lights. And you are probably not surprised to hear there's 300 weddings every day in Las Vegas. That's the most in the world, outside of Istanbul, Turkey. Supposedly.
If I lived in Las Vegas, I'd be at the big fancy casinos all the time.
I'd hope you weren't at the fancy casinos all the time if you lived in Vegas, woman. You have 4 kids to take care of. They need their mom around.
I would just get a sitter, duh.
You can't afford a sitter, Karen. If you lived in Vegas, you'd be at Jerry's Nugget all the time. That's more your class. Yeah. You lived in Las Vegas for a long time, and you left and you moved to Washington.
Yeah.
And I know that you told me in an email that you were very frustrated with Las Vegas and you just needed to get out of there. What exactly is going wrong with Las Vegas? Like, why did you just bounce?
Well, I left because of like more personal reasons, like family stuff. But
Yeah.
I didn't particularly care for the culture there either. It just like a lot of people from California have moved into Vegas and kind of made the culture a lot more like California, like higher crime and more homelessness. And it just felt like the city doesn't care about its citizens at all. Like they're so worried about making sure the tourism industry stays like doing well that they don't really care what happens to the community that lives there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got a sense of that when I was there. And in describing Las Vegas, you were kind of telling me this part of town's bad and this part of town's bad, and then kind of at the end you're like, actually, the whole place is kind of just bad.
Well, it's just like the way that it's structured is you have like pockets that are really like crime ridden right next to areas that are really supposed to be like safe and high end, and it kind of makes it not so safe in the areas that should be more safe. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
So like I went down the strip, which a lot of people have not been to, but many tons of people have. And just to kind of film, a lot of people have not really seen, like just to drive right down the main drag. How was the strip changed since when you grew up to now? Are there any changes in like the way that the vibe down there at all anymore?
I never really went to the strip as a kid. I only experienced it as an adult. So I only have a few, like locals don't really go to the strip a lot often. So for me, it was always just kind of like, especially as a woman, I never really felt like you feel safe like in the main areas, but the second you're alone, it just feels a little bit more dangerous. And I mean, I don't know, it's the strip, like it's just super touristy and you get a lot of like homeless people. They do seem to crack down on people like you'll see people like selling water in the summer or like selling their little this and that's on the strip, and they seem to like crack down on that a lot, but I haven't seen a big change on the strip personally.
Mm-hmm. I used to go there when I was in high school and then in college a lot. I used to live in Southern California, and I remember like in the 90s, it felt very new and glitzy and like overwhelming, and like every detail was like amazing. 30 years later, I feel like it's run down, more tired, a little bit less. It just
Yeah.
doesn't have the charm and the wow factor that it used to
Yeah.
have, which is fine. I mean, that's just stuff gets old. I just, it was noticeable to me that like, wow, this place isn't like perfect anymore at all.
Yeah, I think older people that have been there longer would probably have the same attitude. I just like I never went to the strip until like the 2010s, so it was kind of always that way to me. So that's just what I expect from it. But I guess like if you knew it from the 90s, you'd probably have a very different perspective.
People always want to know like what's the best hotel down in Vegas. Do you have like a favorite hotel slash casino that you liked and one that you didn't like?
I really enjoy the Cosmo. It's very beautiful and just has a really high class vibe. The Bellagio is really pretty and kind of like a more one that's been there for a long time. Uh, I really don't like Planet Hollywood. Planet Hollywood seems to be the least safe of like if you're parking there, be careful. I've had a lot of friends that have had bad instances there, but they have pretty good security in most places. But yeah, the Planet Hollywood is probably my least favorite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. I stayed at the Excalibur, which used to be really nice, and now it's kind of dumpy. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Sorry,
The
Excalibur.
circus is pretty awful. The Stratosphere, not good.
Yeah. And so let me ask you about this. So the Stratosphere, so I think you told me about the area, that neighborhood right behind the Stratosphere, Baltimore Ave, Cleveland Ave, like that kind of between industrial and the Stratosphere. I went back there and drove around. It was like mid-afternoon and it was hopping early. I mean, I was driving through there and I was like, dang, like I don't see this so early in the day going on, right? I mean, right within a block of like the tourist part. What's up
Yeah.
with that part of town over there? Like just that little neck of the woods.
It's just like I don't know what happened to that area, but it is terrible. It's the highest crime area in the city, and you'll see the same thing if you go on the other side of the strip from the Stratosphere, like Sahara Paradise area. It is a lot of drug use over there. It's really cheap housing right there, so you just get the worst type of people in the area. I don't understand why it's so bad in that specific area, but all the locals know to just stay away from there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, your email was very long, and I'm looking at it right now with all the different areas to avoid, and a lot of them are like right near the strip. What are some other areas that people should avoid that are pretty with hookers and druggies and homeless and crime and all that stuff?
Definitely like most of Nellis is pretty like not great. That's more on the east side of Vegas, especially the Tropicana Nellis area. That's another really high crime area where you see a lot of shootings, and I've witnessed shootings there. And then like Nellis, Washington area is another area that's you just don't feel safe hanging out there. It's not like, some of the worst parts of the country where you feel unsafe just driving through, but I wouldn't like recommend hanging around those areas, unless you really have some business going on there. And then a lot of Northtown, like the lettered streets, like D Street, is not a great area. I went to school there, and you have a lot of shootings, and just California has brought in a lot of gang violence into Vegas that wasn't there when my parents moved there. So a lot of people flee the high prices in California and the crime there, and then it brings a lot of it to Vegas because it's so cheap to live there in comparison.
Yeah, you called it a hellhole in your email. Do you still stand by that?
Yeah, I mean, part of that is the weather, it's so hot. And then just the culture there is debaucherous, it's sex and drugs. And then on top of that, you have like rising crime, and the news doesn't like to report on a lot of it because it gives the place a bad image and can scare away tourists. So you just feel like these things are getting worse, but nobody wants to do anything about it because if you address it, then it might bring bad publicity to the city.
Okay, so now we're going to break away from the main drag for a few minutes so I can show you a really bad part of downtown Las Vegas. The area we're going to drive through is notorious for being really dangerous, like the most dangerous neighborhood in the city. And it's located here, just a block away from where we are, just behind the Stratosphere Hotel. I had heard about all the gunfire and robberies and hood rats in this part of downtown, so I wanted to see it firsthand. I drove through it earlier in the day at about 2 in the afternoon, and as you're going to see, it was hot with activity, even that early in the day. As I always say, I can only imagine what happens here at night. Let's take a quick look. there we go. Underneath the stratosphere. Now everybody in Vegas knows what that looks like. I do not recommend you go down here. That was absolutely crazy, and it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I cannot imagine what that's like at night. Like, I think that's the worst place I've been in this city so far. Right underneath the stratosphere by the 7-Eleven. Down some alleys. Do not ever drive down an alley twice. You're lucky to get down an alley once. All that. St. Louis Street, Chicago Street, Philadelphia Street, all that is some messed up shit right there. People doing deals. Man, this is a messed up part of town. Damn! Chicago Street. New York Street. That was pretty intense for the middle of the day. And it is just messed up all over down here. All over. It is messed up. Vegas has some messed up spots. There you go. Y'all wanted to see it. Hopefully you're pleased. Yeah, I mean, I tell people all the time, people ask me, what about moving to Nevada? And I'm like, you can go up by the Reno area where like the suburbs where it's more peaceful, down Gardnerville and like near Carson City, or just way out in the boonies. But like, there's no reason to move to Las Vegas if you are thinking that you're going to go down there and party all the time, because everybody that moves there stops going down to the entertainment side of town almost immediately. I mean, you just get sick of it or you can't afford it. There's really no reason. It is cheap. I'll give you that. The whole place just looks like Los Angeles now. And that's not good. Without the ocean and the fancy areas. I mean, there are some really nice gated communities around there. But nobody can afford those, most people. So it's like the middle class. I guess you go to Henderson.
Henderson's pretty safe. Surprisingly, it's a very safe place to live. There's like one area that's not great, but it's not as bad as a lot of areas in actual like Las Vegas. But I don't see the appeal. If you are there to party, it's gonna like down spiral very quick because you can do anything 24 hours a day. It doesn't stop. And if you're not there to party, there's really nothing else to do. So I don't see the appeal. A lot of people there are just trying to get to LA, or they just left LA.
Yep. Great Mexican food, lots of good golf courses, and tons of cheap food if that's what you're into. I don't get it. It's hot. It's boring. But it's one of the fastest growing cities for a reason. I guess it's cheap, and LA people are fleeing there in droves and going up there for a bit, see if they can start a new life. So good for them.
Right. And it is bringing a little bit more culture. Like there's a budding music scene there, an art scene. It's still, nothing like most other cities have, but they're trying. It does make it hard because the Strip kind of has a monopoly on anything entertainment related. And if you try to start your own type of entertainment related business there, it's very difficult. There's a lot of regulations and red tape because the Strip kind of just likes to keep that to themselves. Doesn't want competition.
No, man. Well, that was really helpful. I appreciate that, and I'm sure people love to hear local perspective from people that grow up in an area or that live there. Like, what's it like? And people just love it. So I think people appreciate it.
I can tell you about the homeless in Vegas a little bit too, if you want to add that in.
You know what I need to do is I need to go back and I found a few little pockets that were nothing compared to some places I've been. I need to go down to the tunnels, and I know that's not original. I've seen videos where people go down there, but I do need to go down there and talk to some of those people because that's just crazy. There's like 1,000 people down there or whatever.
Yeah, well, it's like in California, it's legal to like camp on the street, and it's not in Vegas. They'll let you do it like around the what do they call it? Where they give out food and stuff, the soup kitchens. They'll let you do around
That's
there.
where I saw them. Yeah.
Yeah, but anywhere else, the police will like make you move. And plus it's hot. So most people will go in the tunnels where it's cooler and you're protected from the weather. And it's gotten bad this like in the last few years. So they're like spread out all over the city, but you have no idea how many homeless people there are because they hide all day. So that's another really interesting thing about it is the way they hide problems like that.
Hey guys, if you learned something new about America or what it's like to live in America, great! You should think about subscribing and turning on your notifications. You can also click one of these videos or playlists for more. You can also now buy my songs on iTunes and other formats. Click the link in the description. Thanks for watching. And remember, while we all might have different views, we should all be nice to each other and try to make the U.S. a better place in a positive way.
This is Sage, Nick's manager. This has been a Corner House Entertainment production.
And are you looking to move and need advice? I do consulting. That's right. I'll sit down and talk about where the next perfect place for you and your family should be. I do it all the time. Together, let's find you a new home that's safe and checks all your boxes. You can get my email in the description to find out how I can help you find your perfect relocation.